out there, one kite. I'm already into the 420, damn it.
Legacy 420 has medicinal and recreational products down to a science, literally. With 2 biochemists on staff and a chief scientific advisor, every product is tested in the Legacy 420 laboratory. Legacy 420, Tyendinaga. Open 9 to 9 every day. Visit legacy420.com.
So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.
You like music, you like weed, well, we gonna be good friends indeed. This is not much I like more than smoking trees. They'll make you dance the do-si-do and teach you how the chiba grows. Smoke a bowl on the 420 radio show. On Lifestyle Radio.
Milligrams THC.
Okay, so Marcel just showed me, just as we were starting the show, welcome, by the way.
We're looking at pictures of pie. It's just a medicated s'mores ice cream pie.
Oh, what kind of ice cream?
Well, what's in it? S'mores.
So chocolate and marshmallows.
And graham.
Oh, and graham crackers. The crust is a graham cracker?
Yes. Graham cracker crust, chocolate ice cream, and then toasted marshmallows.
Will those sit in a box for 36 hours while traveling through Canada Post?
Nope, not a chance. I'm pretty sure that they would not look the same.
Well, he'd have a milkshake with him, Marcel.
I think he'd have a bag full of muck.
You
could still eat it. I mean, you could still eat it.
You couldn't send it like you would send me a lobster?
I wouldn't send you a lobster.
I don't eat lobsters, but yeah, you know.
I wouldn't send a lobster through Canada Post either.
No, you put it on a plane.
Well, yeah. Do you want to pay for the plane?
No.
That's going to be an expensive piece of pie, dude.
I don't like lobster. We weren't talking about pie. We were talking about lobster. No, we were talking
But if I send them the same way you send lobster on a plane, do you want to pay the airfare for a pie?
A little pie sitting there all alone on a seat? Waiting, just coming for me?
Coming for me.
Just for me? What if somebody eats it along the way? I'm out of seat.
Probably charge you $200 for the shipping.
Yeah. Wow. So this is the 420 Radio Show. We are live here from Toronto today. And Darcy's here, and Marcel, and Deb, of course. And we're being joined today by an activist that's been doing this a long time, and his name is Neil Magnuson. Hi, Neil. How are you? I think he's put us on hold.
Yep, he's beeping. And you forgot to say that Neil's in Vancouver, so we've got both coasts covered tonight.
Yeah, we're
I just put you on hold for a second.
We do.
Yeah, we heard the beat. We're coast to coast. We were just introducing you, Neil.
Okay. All of a sudden you weren't there. I'm like, oh no, what did I do? I pushed the wrong button.
Oh, it's okay. You know, it happens all the time. So, welcome. We had a chance to talk on Pace Radio on Wednesday, and I listened to Neil. He was, I didn't realize how involved you were in 420 Vancouver.
Yeah, for a long time now.
Wow. I knew Dana's involved as well, right?
Yeah, he's one of the main organizers as well. He's more a spokesperson, but yeah, he's involved in all kinds of stuff as well. In fact, he was there late cleaning up.
I saw pictures, yes. I saw pictures.
Yeah. He and I both organized a crew, the paid crew for the evening, but he stayed late with them.
You keep fading out, Neil, like you're talking from a bottle.
I see. I don't know how to solve that. I'm just on a cell phone.
You just fixed it by moving closer to the mic, I think.
Yep.
Okay.
I think so.
Cool.
Yep. So, everybody heard us talking about 420 Vancouver. I'm sure we'll talk about that. We're going to be here for a bit. So I wanted to, first of all, discuss your Cannabis Substitution Project, which I am just at awe with what you guys have done, and we're trying to do something similar here, as you know, in Hamilton. What I don't know is the history as to how you got involved and why you started that. Maybe you could do that.
Sure. Back in 2004, I had been a volunteer at 420 for 6 years, and David Malmo Levine, that was coordinating and organizing those rallies up to that point, asked me if I would help him renovate a space that he'd been offered at Maine and Hastings, which turned into the Herb School, the Vancouver School of Drug War History and Organic Cultivation. That renovation on a long weekend turned into me quitting my job, moving in there, and my son and I operated it for the first year, 22 and a half months before I did my first Freedom Tour. So it was during that time at Maine and Hastings that I learned that especially edibles could really help people that were fighting addiction with opioids and street drugs. So now we fast forward to the opioid crisis, and in 2016, I went to, because of what was going on with the opioid crisis, I figured the only thing that we could do, and it was my response also not just to the opioid crisis, but to the city of Vancouver banning edibles in dispensaries. And so my response was to first go to VANDU, the Vancouver Area Network of Drug Users, that is an advocate group for the oppressed people in the downtown east side, and explained to them that I knew that cannabis was a harm reduction tool, that the high-dose edibles could help people stop using those drugs. And I asked them for their support to go to City Hall and ask for support there. And I got unanimous approval to do that. So that was in November, 2.5 years ago. So I went to City Hall with that and explained to them what we wanted to do at VANDU. And I asked them for their approval publicly and for support. And I got neither. I got nothing from them. They wouldn't even talk to me about it. They listened to me, but they wouldn't respond. No questions during the open session. And then I continued to lobby them, and I got Rob Lorry's dad, who'd been working with City Hall for about 40 years as a lawyer, to also lobby them to see if they wouldn't help us do this, because it's a monumental task to start giving out, large amounts of high-dose quality edibles to people repeatedly. And with nothing from them over the next course of a couple of months, I had also been lobbying the different dispensaries to help me, my friends that have dispensaries here in Vancouver. And I got weed, glass, and gifts to give me some really nice donations, and a few other people gave me donations. And after that 2-month period of nothing from City Hall, I just went to VANDU one day. I said, I've got a few boxes of stuff I want to hand out. Can I set up a table here and do that? And they said, yes. So I did that. And then I went away and gathered up more donations and showed up again and gave away more. And over the course of up until the end of February, in February I had done 3 Saturdays in a row. That's what happened. Was I just happened, and I never posted I was coming back. I never told anybody when I was coming back. I would just say I'm coming back as soon as I can get enough to hand out more. And it just worked out to 3 Saturdays in a row. So on that 4th Saturday when I showed up and there was a huge lineup of people there, I was just blown away. And I was like, you people are here for me, for cannabis? And they went, yep. And I went, oh, man, we obviously have to do this every Saturday now. And so that's when it really kicked off officially. And at that same time, there was a handful of people there that were like, I want to help. How can we volunteer? What can we do? And it just grew from there. It took on a life of its own. We've been now, since February 2 years ago, we did the first year, 1 week, every Saturday we were there. At the end of that first year, Saturday lineup was getting a little hard to manage. It was my biggest issue, was line management, keeping everybody happy and not butting in. And we were handing out joints and, having just good, positive people, come down and try to keep everybody happy waiting until we could get stuff bagged up and handed out. Yeah. And so I went to the VANDU board and I asked if I could do 3 days a week instead of 1 and not do Saturday to try to offset the amount of people each time and not have that Saturday problem. They are a busy place, and they said they could accommodate me for 2 days a week, and that would be Thursdays and Sundays. So for over a year now, we've been every Thursday and every Sunday. To be honest, I don't know how I thought I could have done 3 days a week. 2 days a week is a lot of work and takes a lot to get enough donations to sustain that. But thankfully, we have a core group of donators that have been with us almost from the start. Without them, our project wouldn't work, I'm sure. We do get sporadic donations, random. Some regular people, donate sporadically, and some just come in from time to time. And we really need that as well to boost up what we get from the regular donators. But it's just a beautiful, wonderful act of love from the cannabis community to try to help with this horrible situation of people dying directly because of prohibition. Without prohibition, we would not be having this crisis. So I'm really in awe myself of the project. We have 15 volunteers that come and show up every single time. And the Holy Rollers are part of that. They roll about 300 joints that we give out. We give out care packs of 4 to 6 edibles and a couple of joints per person. We give out about 200 consistently since just before Christmas. We've given out about 200 every time that we go there twice a week.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's our project.
We have about 20 regulars now that come in from various areas of the city. And then yesterday we actually saw some new faces, which was good because it means that our word is getting out there, right?
Yeah. It works, so the word does get out, and then you certainly will increase for sure. I would say for people that want to try to do what we're doing, it's very helpful if you're in a location that has a user group. In Victoria, they have SOLID. I'm not sure what that's an acronym for. They're doing a Cannabis Substitution Project, as we are. Slightly different. They've evolved it very nicely to be there, I think, 4 or 5 days a week for 4 or 5 hours a day, and people get to choose what the sorts of cannabis products that they want, be it the caps or the edibles or the joints. They have space to do that. It's a very nice facility that they have there that allows for that sort of an intake and people to come, and there's like sort of a cafeteria window that they come to, and then there's all the different choices that they have, and they can put themselves together a bag for the next, however many days they want, and it's working very well there. Thanks to some unbelievably generous donators, both at Solid and here as well. I should give a shout out, I'm sure, to a number of them. I don't want to leave anybody out. We have quite a few now here, for sure. Twisted Extracts, support those people. The Medicinal Cannabis Dispensary, Dirty Dave, Michael the Cookie Monster, who probably doesn't even have an online presence, but he's been there with cookies every week for us for over a year and a half for sure. Very wholesome cookies, no nuts, and very, very helpful. So, yeah, and others as well that I should be mentioning, the BC Bud Depot, Cannabis Culture. I'm going to miss some, and I'm sorry about that. But, but they don't do it for recognition. That's the other thing, too, is that none of these donators really care whether I promote them or say that they're helping us or not. They just want to help. It's a horrible thing. I think this opioid crisis has touched us all in some way. Most people have a family member or someone that they know, or multiple people that they know that have been taken by this. It's a very horrible thing. I think we've lost 3 out of all the people that come and help. We help at Vandu over the 2 years. There's only been 3, which is an amazing statistic. And with the same regulars, we have about 100 people. We give out like 200 packs to about 160 or 170 people every time. There's a few people that we allow to take for loved ones at home as well. That's been going on for a long time. And out of all of those people, there's only been 3 that we've lost to this crisis, right there in the heart of the downtown east side. Our people will tell you, many of them, that they haven't touched anything to do with those street powders for as long as our project has been there. So we're having phenomenal success with that. Thankfully, UBC is there on site, interviewing people, gathering empirical data to present, and it won't be long before we have that in place that will give us some real credibility for what we're doing, because the statistics are going to very much back up that cannabis is an effective substitute for opioids and street drugs, especially in its edible form.
I do the Higher Estate with Dr. Ira Price on Wednesdays, and I'm sure you know who he is. And he is, like, I'm at awe every time I have a conversation with this guy. And he is so concerned about the opiate crisis here in Hamilton and Ontario that he's going to sign on with us and be there. And so we're going to have an actual doctor there maybe once a month to answer questions or get signed up for his clinic or whatever. We've got some other people that have asked if they can be involved, and we're going to work with them to, it's not just the homeless sector or the destitute that is having an issue with opiates. It is your everyday person next door who had a fall, broke a leg, broke a back, had a head injury 20 years ago, and fell into the magic circle.
Yeah, for us, the downtown east side is the visible home of addiction.
Yes.
Because those people don't have the resources to just, be in everyday life. There's a whole lot of people that have resources and they have other healthcare professionals or other things going on, but we don't see them and nobody talks about them. But yeah, this is touching all the communities for sure, and all the different demographics for sure. Because, like you say, that a broken leg happens to anybody in any walk of life. You can break it skiing in Aspen, or you can break it working in a ditch. I mean, you can be from poor to rich, and you're going to break a leg. And then once you're on those opioids, and then they decide, once you're getting addicted now that you already are. So, cut you off quicker than they should just because of the pressures that are on them to do that. And now they're creating more and more addicts because of this. It's a terrible cycle that's going on with respect to that. And then, of course, people, once they can't get it from their doctor, or if they're labeled a drug seeker, then that's horrible for them if they're actually in pain, for sure. And then they're getting it from their friends, or they're taking it from medicine cabinets, or they're getting it off the street, and down and down and down they go.
Yep. Yeah.
So
I've watched so many friends come out of an injury and go into, a broken back turned literally a broken back turned into a bad drug habit for one of my really good friends who couldn't take it at the end. The pain was unbearable because the other shit wasn't working. He got into the heroin. He got into this. He got into whatever he could get his hands on to stop that pain for a brief minute.
Yeah, and the problem with the opioids, of course, is that you need to use more and more as you go. They build little mini neural networks that need to be completely filled every time you use it. And so that they need to have a safe supply of what it is that works. They need to have proper management by healthcare professionals that have their best interests in mind. And they need to have access to cannabis. My God, that's the missing part as far as the establishment is concerned. They just don't seem to get that yet. Treatment on demand should really involve cannabis as a choice in the form of high-dose edibles or whatever else. But mostly the high-dose edibles is what works for people. Because, as I explained to the crowd at 420, you can't smoke too much weed. You just can't smoke too much weed. If you smoke a couple of grams of the real quadruple A weed, well, you're not going to get much higher than that. Keep smoking all you want. I mean, it might, you're not going to pass out, but it'll probably put you to sleep after a while. But you can't do too much. But, man, you can do too much edible. And that's the key. Because you can do too much, you can do enough. If you're trying to smoke your way out of the pain, it doesn't really work because you can't smoke enough to get out of that kind of serious pain that these people are in, be it emotional or be it physical. But you can do too much edibles, so therefore the right dose of edibles, you can do enough. And that is key, and people need to understand that. I'm really concerned about the new government, edibles that are going to be available to the recreational market, which isn't going to satisfy that either. But at 10 milligrams, I mean, that's just ridiculous. It is the correct dose for anybody who's never used edibles before. That's where you start. But for people that are veteran users, and especially those that are using for medical purposes, 10 milligrams is nothing. And if it kind of gets out there to the mainstream in dribbles, that, hey, cannabis edibles can help you with your opioid addiction, and then they go to the government store and they get some 10 milligram edibles, and they go home and they stop taking their opioids and they start taking that, and they go, well, this doesn't work. And then it can get a bad rep pretty quick that way. So we're hoping we can get the message out there quickly to people that in high doses, edibles can work, and you can take enough to completely offset the use of those other things and get right through your withdrawals or whatever it is that is going on. So it's a bit of a battle with the government, this information, to try to get the right information out there to get people to stop using these other drugs and transition onto cannabis, which will absolutely save their life. Such a substantial amount of people that I know that'll tell you cannabis has saved their life and got them out of that cycle of addiction on those other drugs.
I've got two people in my mind right now that come into Hope, and both of them, they spend 10, 15 minutes chatting with whoever's there. And then they leave, but every time they leave, they're hugging, they're in tears, they're thanking. Mm-hmm. It's like the joy that somebody... I know when I don't have any, Neil, I'm a grumpy bear. I wake up crying, sore, all of the above. But to be able to wake up, even if it's just once or twice a day, and get, once or twice a week, where you get some relief from what ails you,
At the herb school, I mean, that's what moved me so much, was that the people, we didn't expect that at Maine and Hastings that our clientele would be the people from that area. Believe it or not, we thought as a cannabis dispensary, we would have our cannabis community, those that would venture into that area, come and support us. But man, before long, a lot of our clientele was people right from that area of town, those people suffering with those types of issues. And they would curl the hair on the back of our necks with the stories that they would tell about, the things that had happened to them in their lives. And they'd certainly bring us to tears, and, on a daily basis, as they would sit there and thank us so much for being able to have something that was actually helping them that they could access. So it's so unconscionable of our government to be shutting down dispensaries, wasting taxpayer dollars to shut down dispensaries when they're access points for people to get off of opioids and not die, for God's sakes, amongst the other good things that medical dispensaries do. But this is a horrible thing that our government's doing. I hope that we can take them to task at some point down the road. There really needs to be some sort of an inquiry as to the harm that's being caused by what they're doing.
I think Jack is kind of aiming his pencil at the Hamilton Police Department over what they've done with Gunjanistas and Hope. I mean, when they came in, all they got was stuff that was earmarked for Hope. It had Hope everywhere on it, written. Hope, 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 hope. Okay, so nobody would go into that. And then whatever personal stuff whoever was there had. And I think it was quite embarrassing for them at the end of the day, because the dispensary had been closed. We adhered to what was going on. We said, hey, okay, we can help patients other ways by teaching how to use cannabis and helping them get licensed, showing them the path, the way to go, the yellow brick road or the green brick road, whatever you want to call it. Okay. But just because you can't sell cannabis to somebody doesn't mean you can't help them by gifting them. and you're right. The donations that we have to squeeze out of people are usually not. It's not usually that hard to get. People are very, very, very there for the community, and it's enlightening.
I'll tell you, I'm completely low pressure or no pressure. I really don't ask just about anybody for anything. I did ask Don from Weeds back in the early part of the project to help us get going. But then, I just relied on people that wanted to help. And then I make sure I facilitate that as best I can. If they want to help, then I'll meet them wherever they are and pick up whatever they have, package it myself if that's necessary, or whatever it takes to make it work. But I don't really ask anybody for anything. I will say I ask the medicinal cannabis dispensary when I get low on flour, because I give flour to some of my bakers to bake things with, those that can't themselves. So, but really, because I feel that there's people that really want to help, and if they want to help, they will, and they'll keep helping. But if I ask them to help, they will help, but not necessarily in the long term. And really what sustains this project, and sustaining it is very, very important that we keep it going, are the people that are there for me every single time that we're donating. They're there with donations for it.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to do it without it. I mean,
absolutely not.
If
I was a millionaire.
If it was not for the community that has come forth since we've been shut out of Gunjanistas, we would not be able to do this. And we are still, Paula and I and all the staff from Gunjanistas are standing outside, and people come up, and I look like a drug dealer standing there with a box of weed, but I don't care. I mean, I'm half-assed waiting for the cops to come squealing around the corner any given minute. I mean, that's the climate in Hamilton right now. Okay.
Are you going to run?
No, I can't run, dude. I'm a 350-pound man that's 55 years old. Give me a break. No, it's going to be like, dude. It's going to be more like,
if you do run towards it.
It's going to be more like, dude, can I finish this, please?
Yeah, if you're going to run towards them.
Yes.
I try to embrace them to the point where it's reverse psychology. They don't want to talk to me. I'm happy when they do. But as soon as I hear that there's any type of police officer anywhere near, where we're handing out our cannabis, I go straight there. I say, just hang on for a sec, I got to go speak. And I try to engage them and try to say, we're doing good here.
Yeah.
Laws are designed, we live in what's supposed to be a free country. We are the masters here. We have public servants that are supposed to be doing what is the public good and the public will. And laws and regulations are there to protect people and prevent harm. That's what they're there for. When they stop doing that, they're not enforceable. In the case of these laws, I hear the comment, we're allowed to do this, but we're allowed to give away. We're not allowed to do this, but we're allowed to do that. If you're not allowed to do something, but what you're wanting to do is something that's going to actually help people and prevent harm, then any law that would be contrary to that is of no force and effect. It's null and void. It can't be enforced. And anybody that enforce that needs to give their head a shake. They need to think about what it is that they're enforcing, because they have discretion. And many times laws are attempted to be enforced when there's no justification for doing that. And we need to be vigilant as a society, stop that from happening, because that type of a thing can grow. And if we get used to being bullied, and we get used to allowing laws to be enforced where there's no justification for those laws, and in fact the laws are doing harm instead of good, then that's when we lose grasp of what this society is supposed to be about. Freedom, and what that means, is something that we need to be vigilant about every day of our lives. We need to be aware of it. We need to talk to our neighbors and friends about it. That's so important. We don't want to lose sight of it. That's what Remembrance Day is supposed to be about, is remembering. It's not just lest we forget. It's lest we forget people were willing to die for our freedom. And when you think about that, it's such a powerful, powerful thing that we're here today only because of those efforts of people that were willing to stand up to bullies and to be willing to die. Like, thank God we're at least here in Canada, where we thought, there's a slim chance that at 420 the cops might swoop in, at the end of our event maybe, and arrest all of us organizers. And there you are, standing out in front of what was a dispensary that's complying with bad laws to begin with, and still willing to face the possibility that they could come screeching around the corner and put you in a cage. So it's really too bad that we face these possibilities, but at least we've come a ways from where we were, and in other countries around the world where they don't even have those possibilities at all. So we're not the bullies, as the Parks Board said about us 420 organizers. We're standing up to bullies, and it's really important that all Canadians, in whatever fashion they can, do that whenever they see that happening, because otherwise we're going to lose, and we are losing fast, that actual freedom that we're supposed to have, and we're slipping into some sort of a 4-year rotating dictatorship of people that get power and use that in whatever way they want to construct laws that don't protect the people but protect their corporate buddies that got them there. And that's been going on for way too long here in Canada. We need to reset this dumb-ocracy that we have and bring it up to what it's supposed to be. And then we'll have a thriving, happy, populous country here. I'm sorry to go on, but there's my rant.
Go on. Just keep going.
Well, a crime is intentionally causing harm to people, right?
Yes.
And we have these laws that have been crafted over hundreds of years of trying to get justice in the system where this type of thing can happen. So we have an older matriarch as a symbol for all that she represents, and blindfolded for what that represents, and holding this set of scales where on the one side they put the damage that they can prove beyond any doubt that it was you and you did this and here's how much damage it was and that's what it weighs. And on the other side is their chance to put a penalty there that balances the scales. So we've had this drug prohibition thing going on where they just decide that you've somehow committed a crime because you have a flap of powder in your pocket or some herbs in a bag of some sort, and there's no victim, there's no intent to cause harm, there's no damage that you did. So for that to be considered a crime undermines our entire justice system. It undermines that which is a crime. We think less of what a crime is. We wear our criminal convictions with a badge, us who have had those for cannabis, right? We know that that's a righteous thing to have there. We stood up to bad laws. And that's not what's supposed to be happening in our country. That doesn't do our country much good when our entire justice system is brought into disrespect the way that it is with these types of laws being enforced. So there's another level of that.
Yeah. You'd think in 2019 it'd be a little easier to live life and be prosperous, but it's not.
Yeah.
On that note, I'm going to take a break here, And when we come back, I'm going to see if my co-hosts have anything they want to ask or talk about with Neil. This is the 420 Radio Show. We are live here from Toronto and Nova Scotia and BC, across Canada, as you could say. We'll be right back.
Legacy 420 has medicinal and recreational products down to a science, literally. With 2 biochemists on staff and a chief scientific advisor, every product is tested in the Legacy 420 laboratory. Legacy 420, Tyendinaga. Open 9 to 9 every day. Visit legacy420.com.
Tug lightly on this bowl of mine. Well, my screen has seen some better times. Well, my buddy poked a hole, now my weed falls deep inside. Please tug lightly on this bowl of mine.
Wednesday is an action-packed day here at 420radio.ca. At noon Eastern, we get things started with Cannabis and Coffee with Tim Marijuana. Then at 3 p.m., the doctor is in. We can catch the Higher Estate with Dr. Ira Price. Finish up the evening at 8 p.m. with the award-winning Pace Radio Show with myself, Al Graham, and my rotating joint host. So don't forget to tune in on Wednesdays, when we can catch these live shows and their guests only here at 420radio.ca.
Oh yes, me roll it. Me not care what you say, strictly herb it and me brain. Yes, me love the cannabis, yeah. Me name a Senserakia. Me always have Mary's line. Oh yes, me roll it. Me not care what you say, strictly herb it and me brain. Roll up your ganja split. Roll up your ganja split. So you can pass me the whistle, pass me the whistle. I wanna be less spliff. If you have the ganja, can't smoke with anyone to beg everything. You got something for yourself. Smoke ganja hard. You got the whistle on. Oh yes, me roll it. Me not care what you say, strictly herb it and me brain. Yes, me love the cannabis, yeah. Me name a Senserakia. Me always have Mary's line. Oh yes, me roll it. Me not care what you say, strictly herb it and me brain. Roll up your ganja split. Roll up your ganja split. Alright, you now go see me beg you feel no like that. No rolling paper, no ganja. Me own things always there. In a me backyard, me grow a big cali tree. As soon she a go ready, me a go smoke her nice and steady. So now the herbs come around. No. Me a fair eyes in the morning, me a go pick up from the ground. That's my where this came from. Sensera coffee, me name and me marijuana off the Florida. Oh yes, me roll it. Me not care what you say, strictly herb it and me brain. Yes, me love me cannabis, yeah. Me name a Senserakia. Me always have Mary's line. Oh yes, me roll it. Me not care what you say, strictly herb it and me brain. Roll up your ganja split. I know. Roll up your ganja split. Oh, it's the healing of the nation, yes. I got to smoke my ganja weed, yes. And then now smoke the seed. Neither we go kill the weed. No. Roll up the split now. Oh, me love me some Samina. So you must get up with marijuana. Whoa, yeah. Roll up your ganja split. Roll up your ganja split. Ganja split. Roll up your ganja weed. Yeah. Roll up your ganja split. Smoke ganja till your head red. Roll up your ganja split. I grade going
Then I'd be lying. We're back. This is the 420 Radio Show. And that's how I get out of answering questions.
Yeah, well, we're just going to wait for the next break to find out the answer.
Suffice to say, it's not LP weed.
No,
we'll throw that out there. Suffice to say, it's not LP weed.
No. I am sampling something that was donated to Hope, and it's Gorilla Glue number 4, and it's yummy, and I've had a nice, relaxing day, which is what I needed. So. Nice. There you go.
Yeah, I don't actually do edibles myself, but it's important to test them with the project that we have. So thankfully, my girlfriend does require a nice dose of edibles, and I get to find out about the things that are donated. That's how they work. So
you don't do edibles. You just combust and vape in that, or
I don't do extracts either, other than I like a nice hash once in a while. But mostly, I just smoke blends of different strains. I like to overlap profiles of cannabinoids.
Oh, cool.
But the dabs are too much for me. It really slows me right down. I have to sit down on the couch for a few hours, which I have to do things.
Your mic is echoing again. Maybe I'll get you to move it a little again.
All right. Yeah. Get a little closer.
There you go.
I've had a lot to do with dabs. It's kind of funny that way. The old hot knives, right? That was the original dabbing extract. Hot knifing. But, when on the Freedom Tour, 2006 was the first Freedom Tour, did 3 years in a row of spending 5 months on the road, going to Ottawa for Remembrance Day and meeting all the people across Canada. I remember that. You had a van, right? Well, I had a van for 2012 when I did the Freedom Tour for the 4th time. The first 3, I had a pickup truck in 2007 that the Green Party of Canada gave me to use for that trip across Canada and back. The first year, it was just random activists got me from place to place to place. In 2012, I did have a dedicated van, my own van that I used, and we painted it all up with a big pot leaf bursting out of the Canadian flag. I remember that
because you broke down at one point.
Yeah, I did. We had an interesting trip on the way back, for sure. Get it all the way across and then coming back from Remembrance Day was awesome, but I didn't get very far to Sault Ste. Marie before I busted down in that nowhere's land between there and Thunder Bay for a couple of weeks. But, when I wanted to get home so bad. But no, the point was that Butter King, he was the first one on in our community that had this really powerful extract butter. And he gave me a big chunk of that to take with me on the Freedom Tours, all 3 the first years, and the 4th year as well. And, I didn't sell it. I just gave people hits of it. That was the idea, was let people try it all across Canada in small towns. I saw so many miraculous things happen with that. But I don't use it myself. I would sometimes take the last few sniffs off the rig that I had to give people hits off of, and even that sometimes before we don't too much. So I did that and really popularized butter right across Canada all 4 of those years. I was also the MC for the Concentrates Open, the Canadian Concentrates Open. We had 7 of them here in Vancouver to raise money for the Allard case. And so I got to be a big part of those competitions for dabbing. And once again, didn't dab during any of that. I had people couldn't be dabbing really all around me. But yeah, that's kind of how I am with that. And edibles too. I don't know, on the first Freedom Tour, I went to Toronto, and at the Kindred Cafe, they had the edibles put out. This is a warning for people with edibles. You can really eat too much. It won't kill you, but you almost might wish you could probably end it all. But I had a strawberry milkshake infused at the Kindred Cafe, and then we went to Puff Mama's place in Toronto there, and Joey is one of the best bakers. She put out a tray of brownies on the table. There was just 3 of us that arrived early because I was there on my tour. And then we gobbled them all down, and she comes back with, "Oh my goodness, that was for over a dozen people." I couldn't get out of her place for 3 days. I was stuck on a cot in the back there and couldn't move. My head was about 4 feet thick. So anyway, yeah, I don't eat edibles. So
I don't not eat edibles.
I was just going to ask. Yeah, I was just going to ask if Marcel or any of the others have anything that they wanted to ask you on that front, because I think we're all edible users, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to say...
And dabbers as well?
I'm a shatterizer.
Yeah.
I have a dab bar set up in my kitchen.
I see.
So if anybody comes in, they can always have a dab.
Nice.
But I have a dipstick that I use.
I have some dabs in my little side bag cannabis kit that I carry my stuff in. And when I meet somebody, from the cannabis culture or something, and somebody says something, well, I've got some stuff in there that I share with them. A great big glob of stuff that came from being the MC of the Concentrates Open, where they always gave me stuff at the end of the night. I just sort of stuck it all in the same container, and I carried it around with me. Kind of melted into, I don't know, I think it's a nice little glob of stuff.
Man, that might be nice.
I know, eh? I know. For those that doubt, that's a nice little thing.
I've had a few conversations with Ira over the last little while about opiate use, and I've had a lot of response from people coming in that are saying, like you said, edibles are what work. But there's lots of different types of edibles. I mean, and all that. One of the
concentrates too, right?
That's right. Yeah,
One of the
things I'm really pissed off about is I got 2 magic butter machines sitting in Gunjanistas right now that I can't touch, and I can't make edibles for Hope. I can't do anything. So we're actually literally relying on donations. We were getting donations in bud. Somebody had some extra bud from their garden, they'd bring it over. And it's a lot easier to get donations like that. I
had a representative of Canopy Growth, the LP that is has put a professor in the UBC. And that professor's a great guy, good guy, he's on our side. But they met with me, and they said they wanted to support our project and to protect our project, because everything we're doing is kind of sort of. And would I accept that and only use cannabis from legal sources that the Congress put to me? My immediate response was, well, I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't turn down the donations that I'm getting now, because those are for people who really care and they want to help, and I'm providing a vehicle for them to be able to help. So I guess I'd have to say no to that. But within 20 minutes of leaving the meeting, I'm texting her back saying, well, hey, just a minute here, because you're allowed to grow 4 plants in BC.
Yes.
And I think that all of the donations we're getting in the form of edibles were made by people that are growing legal cannabis, either on their medical license or on the 4 plant thing. So we're already just using legal weed. So sure, yes, I would agree. You can help us and support us and protect us, and we'll use weed from legal sources. And they haven't gotten back to me. That was a couple months ago. I'm kind of surprised, sort of that.
Yeah.
Sad, really. That they've opposed, pitched us against each other.
At this point, I would not align Hope with anybody other than a patient-run producer.
I decided I would take contributions from them, but I would not ever let them be exclusive. And if I'm going to take contributions of weed from them, which I haven't, because it hasn't offered to me, I might just set up a sister project and use their weed in the sister project so that I could compare results. But they gave me $250 as a donation from one of their conferences that they had here in Vancouver. They sent someone to ask me if I would accept a donation from them when the conference happened, and I said, sure, okay. As long as there's nothing attached to it, absolutely, please help it. And so they did do that, so that's awesome. But, I knew I was going to have that battle right from the start. That is part of what I'm standing up against, is the monopoly system that they've got.
Yes.
And I will not ever secede to them and allow them to take over the project and only use their products or anything like that. And one of the things we're demonstrating with this project is how safe cannabis is. I'm sure all of the people that get cannabis from us have eaten too much of it. We've been a little full a few months in, and as much as I warned them all, and they all know, I don't have to say much anymore, because they're still using cannabis and they're trying not to eat too much, because you can eat too much. But you don't eat too much that it's anything to be a serious concern with. There's no permanent injury of any sort.
Yeah.
It's an uncomfortable day or two. And
most people I know that have, I've greened myself. I've put myself in the hospital. I thought I was having a fucking heart attack. I just had a little too much. And if I hadn't done that, I couldn't honestly say, don't do that.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
it was an uncomfortable 5 hours in the hospital. And then, of course, in the back of my head, worrying, okay, they've asked me what I've been taking. All I've said is this, that, and cannabis, and cannabis, and cannabis. So now what are they going to say? You know, because that's the stigma part of things.
Yeah, so we're trying to demonstrate that nobody's going to be harmed in any significant way by eating too much cannabis from whatever source it comes from. Pretty much. I mean, I'm pretty good about taking what people offer me, and people are pretty good at offering me stuff that looks like it's okay with me. We should be using all food-safe kitchens and all food-safe protocols and all the rest of that. Proper packaging, proper labeling, proper dosing, all that stuff should be there. But with cannabis, it's such a benign substance, and you really have a hard time hurting anybody with it. That the need for strict regulations on that is minimal, and it's like a country bake fair. Most of what's there is done with love by a baker, a parent that knows what they're doing in their kitchen, and it's most of it pretty safe. We try to make sure that we're being as safe as we can with the way that we're doing it, but we're also trying to demonstrate that there's really nothing for the authorities to worry about with people that are just providing their own cannabis from whatever source and baking it for our project. But I'm sure in the real world, in a medical dispensary, everything would be prepared in food-safe kitchens with proper protocols and all that. And we'll do that too as we expand our project in the future. If we do end up with good resources and the ability to have a better building that serves us, we want to do what Solid's doing and move to 4 or 5 days a week, 4 or 5 hours a day, do a lot more with respect to researching what's working for our clientele. We've moved a lot more towards CBD because that people are asking for it, and we're getting reports that seems to help more with the cravings than does the THC for some people. Other people, they like that high THC, but we're trying to respond to the market and trying to learn from it what really works for people and have all that available to them properly. But for now,
are you experimenting or trying kratom or even psilocybin?
I have not.
Like that? No. Okay.
I have not. I'm not opposed to it, but we're a cannabis substitution project, and I think I need just to have it as that. I have been reached out to by people with kratom. I'm happy they're doing what they're doing. I'm happy they're having some successes with it.
Yes.
But yeah, it's not something that I've embraced. Psilocybin, I mean, that's a personal recommendation to people, and I have done that within our clientele in microdosing of psilocybin. Is something some people might want to try. I'm a big fan of Dana Larson trying to expand the acceptance of these types of substances, the plant medicines, to the psychedelics and the psilocybin for medical purposes and other purposes. Recreation is also
it's knocked my depression out to the curb. So
of course, and many others too.
Yeah,
and MDMA. MDMA is, I think, a wonderful substance.
No thanks.
Properly.
No thanks.
Well, nothing is for everybody, for sure. No, all these things just need to be available for people to choose. As free people, we have issues, and there's many different solutions, and not everyone has the same solution. We need to be able to do whatever we want to do for ourselves if we have that issue. If something's not right, and there's somebody says, hey, there's this particular flower, look at this particular leaf, and maybe that'll give you some relief. It's happened for me and my friends. Well, who gets to stand there and say, hey, you sick and suffering person there, don't be picking that plant and trying any of that. It's so ridiculous. It's like a couple of people meet, the two human beings never met before. They're the only ones they think in the whole wide world. They meet somebody else. Hey, great to meet you. Wow, I thought I was alone here on this planet. There's somebody else. Oh, man, tell me about your life. Oh, and as he reaches down to pick a weed and start chewing on it, the other one says, hey, don't be doing that. I know about that weed. That weed can really hurt you. Don't be doing that. They go, no, I have experience with this weed. This weed doesn't hurt me. It helps me. No, don't be doing that. I'm telling you, for your own good, don't be doing that. And they end up fighting over it. And the guy's out punching the other guy in the head to try to keep him from taking that leaf and putting it in his mouth. And, finally pulls out a gun and shoots him for his own good because, God, that leaf was going to hurt that guy, right? Like, what the fuck? Sorry for my language and my passion, but That's what's going on in the world. We got police busting through people's front doors with battering rams because they got some plants growing. You know, because where's the kid tied up in the basement that they're going in to save? You know, there's plants, growing plants. Well, that must be dangerous. Growing plants? Well, no. You know, nobody wants to burn their house down. We're not doing it dangerous. We're being safe about it. We want plants because those plants help us. Oh no, you can't have those plants. Here, we got stuff that'll help you. Buy this instead. What? Like, this world really needs to give its whole head a shake with what we're allowing to happen with these corporations, you know, controlling our public servants and our governments and exploiting us and using us the way they have for all this time. It's time, like you said before, it's 2019. Like, come on. Like, this isn't rocket science. The hypocrisy runs so fucking deep. It's like people, you know, drinking their alcohol and popping their pills and smoking their tobacco, saying, "Oh, but don't be using those herbs for medical purposes." You know, and it's way worse than that. It's just so wrong that we're using our criminal justice system to protect interests of corporations that want us to consume stuff, you know, for their benefit. And we got to stop this already. I thought we were on the right track, and then Trudeau comes along and lies through his teeth to us and tells us he's going to legalize and regulate like we've been asking, but instead he legalizes and regulates so that he legalizes it for anybody who wants to buy it off of him only, and regulates it so nobody can produce it or sell it unless they're part of his monopoly of systems. I mean, that's not what we're asking for, and that's the same thing all over again. It's just more prohibition. It's worse prohibition. There's more laws against it. There's harsher penalties involved, more wasted tax dollars on enforcement, more hate for law enforcement. It's just wrong. So,
I have a funny Trudeau story. My mom went to her synagogue for Passover services and dinner, and she pulled into the parking lot, and these two very large people came over to her car and said, "What are you doing?" She said, "I'm looking for a parking spot." And they said, "You can't park there." She pulled out her disabled thing for her car and basically looked up and said, "Go away." and then found a parking spot and went in. She had no idea what was going on. When she walked in, he was there, and he was attending the service and attending the dinner. And she said to me, she said, all of these old ladies were pushing people out of the way to get a picture with him, and I just sat there and smiled. You know, I asked her if she walked up. She just turned 80. And I asked her if she walked up and thanked him for the certificate that he sent her.
And no, she didn't.
No.
Before he was Prime Minister, he came here to a park, and I happened to be close enough by that I went there to see if I couldn't chat with him for a minute. Yeah. And I stood right beside him as he was being mobbed by people getting their pictures with him and stuff. But I wasn't interested in that. I wanted a moment of his time. But when he broke to, said he's got to go somewhere, so he's jogging across the park, and I'm jogging with him. He stopped, and we talked for a minute at the other side of the park. And one of the things I said to him was that if you would respect individual sovereignty, then you'll be the greatest statesman that ever lived. And he assured me that he would. Looked me straight in the eye, and we shook hands on it, and I said, "I'll support you." So, went on the big campaign for him, and we had him on the zigzag paper pack with big, huge picture of him at the art gallery for 420 that year. And vote for Trudeau. He's going to legalize. We're all going to be not criminals again.
Yeah.
Or, for the first time. And, and now I think if I meet him again, it'll be a very different encounter for sure. I'm very unhappy with all that stuff. As always. I mean, I was a fool.
I'm wondering if he's ever going to show up at an event. I mean, it is legal.
Why would he?
I'm sure that if they invited him to the beer festival down at Ontario Place, he'd consider it.
I wonder if one of these days the LPs will put on a big non-smoking, non-selling cannabis event, and he'll show up there and speak to the converted. Maybe, but he wasn't coming to 420.
No, I couldn't see him.
We didn't get any politicians to come to 420.
No, I think the biggest reason being is he knows how the people feel about his legalization. He doesn't want to face those people.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the lady with cancer here who wants a face-to-face meeting with our premier over our healthcare system. And as soon as she said that, I said, he'll never meet face-to-face. So he's decided to send a committee to meet with her. Right?
Yeah. Well, we're not being represented properly or governed properly. thank God for the cannabis legalization, because we're really at the forefront of the fight for freedom.
I don't know.
My take on this is that if you could make a person a criminal for having possession of that particular herb, then nothing is sacred. Like, you could make anything a crime. If a free person can't have a flower that is going to help them sleep or help with his pain or whatever it is, and some government's going to tell you can't do that, then you're not free. So for me, it's the most glaring and obvious example in our society of us not being free. And there's a big abuse of power going on, just simply because of the attempt to prohibit cannabis. The other drugs as well, although there's some argument for the prohibiting of those, because those things have caused mayhem in people's lives. They can be addictive. They can be harmful when not used properly. But that argument is completely null and void when you really look into it and find out that, well, if you do try to prohibit it, then it increases the demand. It increases all the abuse, all the different problems with it are exacerbated. You don't solve any of those issues that are associated with the abuse of a substance by trying to prohibit it. But with cannabis, there's no justification for using the criminal law or any law to try to prohibit or restrict the accessibility or use or production of cannabis. It makes absolutely no sense. It's a complete logic-free zone. Whenever you try to think about, why there would be a logical reason for the police to be strict about people not having too much cannabis at this point. I mean, is there a shortage? Is that why? That might make some sense. If there's not quite enough to go around, and we got to make sure that everybody gets their share. So maybe we will use government forces to make sure you don't have too much because other people need it. But that's not what's going on at all. They're just trying to restrict how much you can have, or that you can have it at all. For what? For what?
Yeah.
It's not going to, they originally said it made you violent and insane. Well, that's not true. It's a calming, peaceful one.
You have to think about the children. Nobody thinks about the children anymore. Think about the children.
Well, don't get me going on that. Our government has completely thrown all the under-19s under the bus. Like here, the only problem we have with cannabis is prohibition, and the problem is that
kids,
you're dealing with criminals.
The ones under 19 have no problem getting access to cannabis
They
because
the
same people that go and get them their liquor at the liquor store can go and get them their cannabis now.
Well, I personally don't want my 17-year-old daughter in some guy's basement suite buying his weed. Like, I don't trust that guy. I don't know who he is. I don't know whether he wants to bump her up to some more profitable, easier to hide powder or something. I don't know if he's trying to get her to, trade some sexual favors because she doesn't have quite enough money for the good stuff. I mean, all of the problems of prohibition to do with young people or to do with cannabis is all prohibition. We need to have a responsible place. That's what the Canadian Senate said, too. The age of access for retail for humans should be 16 years of age for the very same reason I just quoted, is because you don't want those young people, in those places where you're dealing with people who are being labeled criminals and they're willing to break criminal law. And a drug is a drug for those people in many cases. So, you're going to be offered other illegal, dangerous, unregulated substances while you're there, and on it goes. So, it's just unconscionable, a number of different things. To do with the young people with respect to cannabis legalization, continuing the stigmatization, not having it near schools like it's something dangerous. But then they've got cigarettes available in every grocery store and every gas station across the country, whether they're close to a school or not. And it's, and the pricing. Let's get rid of the underground market. I thought that'd be great. Not really, but because a lot of the underground market are just our friends that are helping to pay their mortgage and feed their families, and they're all good people, and you should be able to do commerce. But the price of weed is way too high. It should come down. And if you want to really eliminate the gangs, then you got to have $2 a gram of good quality weed for people that's not sprayed with pesticides and shit. So they got the price of weed in the government stores. I was looking today, $19 a gram. Plus, there's tax on top of that. And straight right up, like you get no deals on buying a whole house. Really?
I think in my lifetime, just for the kick, because I had an extra couple of bucks, I've paid maybe $14 for something, or for foo weed as I call it, but it was no different than that $4 a gram that I get at the Compassion Center.
It's because it's
The only
mass-
difference is you could say you paid more for it.
That's right.
and Al, it's mass produced, and there's no quality. There's no quality that's being taken into consideration in these big grows.
A lot of it's also pre-tumbled.
Yep, and they're and that's
for your later enjoyment.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to have some craft growers that are going to be able to supply some of their government stores. And that weed, man, I can't imagine what they're going to charge for that.
Oh, I can imagine.
The regular $15, $18 a gram weed, and then you can buy the good stuff over here.
Yeah.
We're
up to $35, $40 a gram.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I bought 2 grams.
Ridiculous.
I paid $14 a piece for them, and I brought them home, checked them under my microscope, and realized that my trim was better than what they had to sell for premium.
Yeah. Well, for one thing, you're paying the fine up front. That's what seems to be happening. Prohibition prices were, to protect the dealers, but if they did get busted, they could have money for lawyers and stuff like that. And that's why it was $10 a gram. And the market would bear that because cannabis is good. And if it's scarce, well, yeah, you'd be willing to pay $10 a gram. But those are prohibition prices based on people going to jail and stuff like that. To have it in the government store, it shouldn't be the prohibition price for one thing, but they've even boosted it above that. And on the other topic with paying more than what it's worth, some people like to do that because they can tell their friends they paid more for it.
Yeah, I bought the premium stuff.
Looks and smells the same as the cheaper stuff. It must be better. They paid more for it. Dispensaries learn that pretty fast. That people come in there and they've got disposable income and they want just whatever is the best. And even though you don't really have something that's any better than anything else, you got to put something aside and call it better because that's the market that's there. Yeah. As well as that market of people that are going to come in and they really want good weed at a really cheap price because for them it's medicine and they need it all the time. And it's taken a lot of money out of their pocketbooks. And they need to have
But you know what? A lot of people in this day and age can afford that. And if you can afford to go out and pay $12, $14, $16, $18 a gram, you go right ahead. Okay? But I can't.
And there needs to be provision for those people that can't.
That's right.
For sure.
And there isn't.
Not within the government scheme, there isn't.
No,
that's for damn sure.
And they're making sure that they're taking out every compassion center, and getting rid of them, and they're cutting us off. They're cutting the medical community off. I mean, and now Shoppers Drug Mart has just announced that they have another portal for those in Alberta now.
Yeah,
No,
we're watching a government monopoly be set up, right in place of our economy. We have a huge, vibrant, entrenched economy of cannabis producers and retailers all through that's not part of this government system that's been set up for a very long time. The attempt to dismantle that using the criminal law and enforcement, some of the rhetoric that I'm hearing from some of these people about how they just need to clamp right down and
I would think that it'd be better to embrace it and follow and do what some of these people have done because the craft market, they're the ones that are doing it right. Well, some of them, not all of them.
Yeah.
Well,
but all that expertise is there. And certainly they shouldn't be continued to be criminalized out of existence. It's just still horrible. I'm expecting the whole thing to collapse anymore. We're going to get back to one off the lock. I'm too much of an optimist. But I don't think it stands the test of the courts coming up in the not too distant future as a lot of these things get challenged.
We're going to find out because there's a few challenges. And on that note, we're going to take another break. We're going to listen to some Kashish by the Killin' Time Band. And then we'll be back with our conversation with Neil Magnuson as well as Darcy.
Yes.
You got your paperwork ready for tonight?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's it, Mark. That's it, Al. I got my paperwork ready.
All right. We'll be right back. This is the 420 Radio Show. You can tune in at 420radio.ca or at all the various podcast places online. We'll be right back.
Legacy 420 has medicinal and recreational products down to a science, literally. With 2 biochemists on staff and a chief scientific advisor, every product is tested in the Legacy 420 laboratory. Legacy 420, Tyendinaga. Open 9 to 9 every day. Visit legacy420.com.
Hey, this is Cheech. And this is Chong. And you're listening to Lifestyle Radio. What is it? Lifestyle Radio. Say it one more time. 420 Radio? Ooh.
Please hang up and try again.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
Stress and strain, it wears you down and makes you frown and pulls down your face. But worry or not, that won't make it stop. 'Cause how can you stop a runaway train? So everybody knows that you need dough for anywhere you wanna go. You can believe what you wanna believe, but everyone still needs the cashier. No time to waste on chasing crowds that weigh you down and tie you in place. See, believe or don't, it won't make the ground stop turning round and fly off into space. See, everybody knows that you need it bad for anything you wanna have. You can believe what you wanna believe, but everyone still needs the cashier. Can't get a job if you ain't got cash. Can't get a car if you ain't got cash. Can't get respect if you ain't got cash. You can't get a home if you ain't got. Everybody knows that you need dough anywhere you wanna go. It's all just ebb and flow. Some living high, some living low. You can't believe what you wanna believe, but everyone still needs the cashier. 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 The cashier.
I'm eating matzah Marcel. This is the 420 radio show.
The
And
Jewish
I'm Jewish.
420 radio show.
There's always matzah laying around after Passover. My mom always buys a box for me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever eaten matzah.
It's just a giant cracker, and I have a piece of cheddar cheese on it. So I'm going to sit back.
Is your
and let-
cheese kosher?
I'm not eating meat. That's all you need to know.
Oh, no. Dairy's in there too, you know. You good
Darcy?
Jewish. Darcy, save him.
Can you talk about something grow-related really quickly that will take long enough that Marcel forgets about the cheese?
What was that? Cheese isn't kosher?
No. Well, you can. I don't know. Can you get kosher cheese?
Of course.
And on that note,
Can you?
You can't
I don't-
eat milk products with meat.
Right. But
I'm not
milk
having
products
meat.
come from meat.
Yeah.
Delicious meat for all you vegans out there who are missing out.
Yummy, yummy, yummy. Moo.
Steak.
Vegan, that's a native term for lousy hunter. Is that correct?
Is it really? I didn't know that.
Nah, I got a lot of information, people.
Darcy?
All right.
Yes.
Start
What are we growing tonight?
well, what I'm growing is a couple different strains, but I don't know what you're growing.
No, what are you talking about growing tonight?
Oh,
I think Darcy took his stupid pill already.
Darcy was smoking some good stuff.
I was all day. Well, I shouldn't say all day. Since 3:30 this afternoon.
It's that soggy
Bull.
mitten cake stuff, right?
Bull.
Yeah, no, I haven't. No, I
I'm
didn't
calling
get none of
bullshit.
that. I'm smoking. Yeah, he is because he called me at dinner time and realized what I was doing. So
He's been smoking all day.
I have a good job where I get to smoke all day.
You get to talk about growing too.
Yes. Yes.
Excuse me.
Tonight, well, one thing I want to do is I wanted to do what I said I was going to do last week, and I wanted to do a strain profile on a strain. That's one thing I wanted to do, and that strain is one that me and Marcel are doing our due diligence on right now, and that's OG Kush Breath. There's a fuckload, pardon my language, of phenotypes that we have to go through, and we are putting them through rigorous processes.
And we're destroying them in the evidence in a series of small fires.
Well, you know, if you need any help with that, I'm over here.
I'm over here. And I'm consuming mine two different ways. I'm smoking 0.5 gram joint, and then I'm putting the other 0.5 gram into my bowl of my bong. So I will hit my bong twice to get an initial effect, because I find I get a lot quicker onset smoking out of a bong than a joint. Actually, I find I don't really get a lot. Smoking joints for me is more of a pleasure thing than a medical thing. I find when I medicate, I use my bong. I find I get more medicinal relief from it.
That's because of oxygen deprivation to your brain.
It's got to be something. It works. It works.
Suck all that through, and
you're delivering a bigger package.
Well, this is it too, right? But for example, so far I got to sample the Kush Breath numbers 1, 3, 4T, which stands for tall, number 4 and number 6, and so far out of them ones. Oh, and number 11, but I jumped ahead on that one because it smelled really good. But the one that I found out the best so far was it's a cross between the 4T and the. I really like the 6. I just tried it tonight, and I find the flavor when smoking it through a joint, I find it's more sandalwood with hints of lemon notes, lemon lime notes, so citrusy. And I found the onset really fast. It was really relaxing. You almost had to glue your eyelids open. Really heavy. Really heavy.
That's why it sounds like this.
Yeah.
Bring out the toothpicks, eh?
Oh, yeah. No, I thought I had to get duct tape on my eyelids open.
See, I don't like that feeling. I don't like that feeling. That's the feeling I get when I'm depressed, and I don't like that couch lock.
Oh, no, that's what I look for, because that's the only... That coach lock feeling is really the only relief I get from the stiffness in my legs.
I get that.
The rest of the time they're still stiff. I can just deal with them. I can deal with it, right?
Because I know that kind of strain is going to take the pain away.
Yeah, right.
But I and sometimes that's fine, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, my favorite strain, Northern Lights.
I can see
Really?
that. Yeah. I can see that though. Yeah. I really can. Because it's in a lot. It's a base strain for a lot of newer genetics. I can say
it mixes nice too. It mixes with other strains.
It's got a quick flowering time, and you can get really big plants, right?
Yeah.
And if you could put the bud structure of, say, a wedding cake or a Wi-Fi 43 or even a THC Snow, that bud style, right, tight sugar crystally bud structure with that plant, I think it might be a good mix, or it might be a total fucking shitbag.
Another one that I've recently come across was Snow White, and I really enjoyed that. It was like, more please,
Yeah. I mean, it's all in your own preference. I mean, I know Marcel, he really likes really high sativa strains, right? So
yeah,
I like a heavy 80-90% indica, right?
I like a middle of the road, but I do like a sativa high, a dominant.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I
me as well.
I like my sativas, but there's certain sativas out there I like. Like I like New York City Diesel. I also like.
I don't mind indicas. My problem with indicas is
Kush.
Most indicas use Kush as a base, and I don't like the taste of Kush.
See, that's why I think what was it? Uzbekistan bud, I think is the name of the strain.
Yeah.
Comes from Uzbekistan. It's a real short, squat, heavy set indica plant that flowers really fast. It's a 45-day flower too, because they get a lot of snow up in Uzbekistan, up in the mountains where this stuff's grown.
Yeah.
And I think you would like that one, Marcel, because it's one I've been trying to get a hold of. And Mongolian indica. I think you'd like that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was really tasty. I got it through.
I do like Nepalese grizzly.
Yeah. See,
which is another one.
I like all of them indicas from that Nepal region, like that Nepal region. I like a lot of their indicas because of their properties and what they have in them. But now, since I'm being spoiled, thanks to who you know who you are.
Sorry.
I'm really digging the Cali genetics, man. I really was.
Admit, the genetics coming out of California are phenomenal.
I was one of these guys that said we have just as good a genetics here in Canada and Nova Scotia, which we do. But them guys down there, man, they're breeding crazy genetics. Crazy genetics, man. Like for potency and for flavors.
Yeah, the flavor profiles of some of them are phenomenal.
They are. Their flavor profiles are crazy, man. And you got everything from citrus, like a heavy citrus flavor, to a super sour diesel flavor, to now they even have them that taste like strawberry banana, which is crazy.
What kind of strains do you like, Neil?
I like more fruity strains, indica dominant, but I like some sativas too. Depends on the time of day for sure. But, what I'm feeling about what you guys are talking about is just the power of growing, and how important that is. And that people, we've been trying to overthrow the government. That was part of our campaign for a long time, and that hasn't stopped at all. Some provinces can't do anything for themselves. Here we are allowed to grow more. I recommend grow more. But growing is so therapeutic. With our project, we've given out Cannabis Substitution Project, Northern Lights, gave out thanks to Crop Kings back in 2016. And this year they gave us a beautiful deed donation, 2 different strains, the Dark Angel, feminized, Revolver, feminized, and auto flowering.
You're breaking up again.
Sorry. We've been able to give out this year 420 packs, 12 packs that I gave out to people.
Wow.
And now we've got clones coming as well. Yeah, huge shout out to Crop King Seeds for that, to give us feminized seeds, which is important for the demographics that we're dealing with on the downtown east side. So, yeah, I think growing is just the most wonderful thing. It's so therapeutic for people that, have a relationship with the plant as their medicine, and when they can produce it themselves and have that relationship as well, there's just something really special about that.
I have yet to have that kind of relationship, that growing relationship with a plant. I'm looking forward to it one day. I just haven't had the place,
Yeah, I mean, I have grown some over the years, but I'm not a grower per se at all. Usually every year I have a few plants somewhere growing, and yeah, and I'm not the medical patient using it in the scenario that I described there, but I've had a lot of meetings with people in my trips across Canada and with the other medical users that I've met along the way, and I've just seen that I've really got that serious impression of just how powerful it is for people to be able to control their own medicine that way and to have that relationship by growing cannabis.
Everybody's falling asleep, I think.
Yeah, I was wondering if I lost you guys.
We're here. I'm still here.
We start to get a little slow around the 8:30 mark.
Only a half hour in. That's awesome. That's awesome that they actually gave you a bunch of genetics to give out. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is. I'm looking forward to the clones too. So are my I don't know what they call them, but my friends. All these people that line up at Van Du every week, they're friends of mine now. I know them, not all, but a lot of them by name. And I know about their kids, and I know about this and that. Now they're telling me how their plants are sprouting, and they all want to tell me stories about how cannabis is helping them sleep and it's helping them with their knee pain or this and that. And it's become quite a relationship, and amongst themselves as well. This lineup that I had issues with for the first year, I no longer have those issues. They're a community that meets twice a week down there, and they form this line and have a great time before I get there and then hand out their care packs to them. So it's really become something, I don't know, something special for sure. I don't know the whole project. I know I started it, but I don't know.
The conversation I find is just as important. The conversations that you have with people coming in, because they're reaching out, they're extending their hands and saying, "Help me." And even if you only have 10 minutes for each person or 5 minutes.
Oh no, I have 15 seconds.
But you understand what I mean? Like, even if you have just a couple of minutes, just, hey, how are you doing this week? How's it working? You tell me about what you're doing. Are you can see the visible change in some of these people as well. Some not so much.
For sure.
Some not so much.
For sure.
There are people that come in just for the free weed. Okay. And then there are people that come in who are legitimately trying to wean themselves off of the whatever they're on, and
they're all very thankful for what they're getting. I don't ask where it goes, once they take it away. We're putting it into the community. If they need to sell it to somebody else who really wants it enough to pay for it, then that's fine. It's going to the hands of somebody that wants it. And if they need money, as they all do, that's fine too. We're just trying to help. We don't screen people as to why they're taking it from us.
No,
the only thing
you
is,
can't.
I did have some young people there that I give some to. So I think for the first time, actually, we have some younger people. But if they're between 16 and 19, I would give them a care pack. But they also that's who gets 5 or 10 minutes of my time. I'll stop the line and have a conversation with them and make sure that they leave educated, like I would want my kids to be dealt with if they were in that situation. But that's very, very rare. But I did have 3 girls. They said they were 14, and I said, I can't give it to you. I won't. You have to bring a parent in to talk to me, and then I will. I'm sorry. I feel really bad, but I'm not. I wouldn't want anybody giving anything like that or anything else to my child under 16. It's not their right. It's a family thing at that point. So, but other than that, we don't have those issues. So I don't screen people in the lineup for why they're taking what they're taking. We have the big sign that's there that says we're the Cannabis Substitution Project. It says very clearly what our mission statement is. I don't know if Hope has brochures or a mission statement written out. I'd recommend that you do that.
We're working on it. Yeah, we're working on that. Yeah.
And if Dr. Ira would provide you with some sort of a letter, stating that you're helping people in this way and that this has been known to help you, or whatever he would put in there, that his credibility might help you a lot.
Well, he wants to take it one step further and turn it into a study.
So, absolutely, for sure. Yeah. You want to do those hand in hand if you can. At Solid on the island, they trade the care pack that they give people. As people come in and choose what they want to have in their care pack, they get that care pack when they fill out a form that continues a story about how they're using it, how it's helping them, and all those sorts of things. So they're gathering their information that way. We've got, like I say, UBCs on site there, and they're interviewing people and getting their stories that way. But absolutely, with your project, you want to be gathering the stats and that kind of information as well. You want to dispense education along with the cannabis, and you want to make sure that you're getting as much information as you can back as to how it's helping and in what ways.
Yeah, and we've done. We started doing that. I mean, we don't have an actual place that we can do things like that right now, but we did start doing that. We had a form, and first name, why are you coming to us, a little story. Yeah. That kind of thing, and it's amazing to see the scope of difference in each story, even though they're all a little bit the same.
Mm-hmm. And I'll speak to the difference in demeanor from these people. Like I say, most of them coming from early on in the project. And there is a definite improvement in the overall health and the overall well-being. There's a jump in their step. They're smiling. They're happy. There's a really interesting, good vibe that happens at Bandu Sundays and Thursdays from noon till about 1:30. So it was almost like a mini 420 vibe. It's kind of what I was feeling the other day there. And 420 we should maybe talk about for a minute or two as well.
Sure, of course.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Why don't we take
I've seen some pictures. It looked phenomenal, so yeah.
And then when we come back, we'll do that. I just got to find a song now. I'm going to choose
I didn't get to hear the last song in the last break. I'd love to come and find that.
It was
we don't get to hear it.
No. Unfortunately not. I'm sorry.
That's why we entertain ourselves.
Cool yeah. Everybody picks their noses and rolls their joints and goes for a pee, So I thought it'd be silly to play a couple of old marijuana commercials from the 70s, or reefer madness, as you would call it, and then we're going to listen to some medication, or meducation as I call it, from Damian Marley and Stephen Marley. And we'll be right back. This is the 420 Radio Show. We'll be right back. I said that already, didn't I?
Shoe.
The shoe. Okay, we'll be back.
Yeah.
Hey, young America, we need to talk. You may think this is uncool. You may even think it is bogus. But I want to tell you about something that has everyone buzzing. Something that concerns mature boys and girls just like you. Something called grass. Not that grass. I'm talking about marijuana. You may have heard of it. You may have seen someone smoking it, like those burnout bohemians or that crazy-eyed custodian at your school. You may have taken a toke or two. But do you know the whole story? Do you know the blunt truth? Weed, grass, ganja, joint, doobie, do, chronic, ace, lobo, loco, love boat, bud, Buddha, blunt, pot, pat, pin, chiba, 420, and hashish, or hash for short. No matter what you call it, no matter what hip street live it's referred or referred to by, it all comes from the same stash. It's all marijuana.
So what are you doing? Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
All I know is I'm here today, I'm healthy, and I use medical cannabis, and I'm thankful.
I achieved complete clinical remission from the cannabis alone, and I would rather be illegally alive than legally dead.
This child needs cannabis.
I'd take a hit and the pain would disappear. It was instant. I mean, instant.
I've always looked at cannabis as being a medicine.
People say you get high. You don't get high, you get medicated.
I'd like to see it so that, people aren't criminalized over something that's medicinal.
It's a God-given plant. We should all be able to use it. It's real medicine.
Medication. Your medication makes me high. Just be patient. I'm like a patient trying to find levitation. Run your fingers down my spine. Elevation. Your medication makes me high.
Such a short way up and such a long way down. And is it a bubble like where they are right down? The way you're something off it off your way by pound. In a fields of marijuana, that is my playground. I love you, Mary Jane. You're the prettiest of flowers, girl, me can't complain. When I'm with you, I feel so high, I rise above the rain. And you know the people damage like that bitch cocaine. No, I leave them lonely, feeling only pain. Cause your DNA is of the highest strain. Your effect is so potent, it's so insane. You so gummy and sticky like a plaster stain. When you grind out your body, only stems remain. And to love you is so risky, I might get detained. You always keep me flying on the highest plane. And anybody know will always proclaim.
Medication. Your medication makes me high. Just be patient. I'm like a patient trying to find levitation. Run your fingers down my spine. Elevation. Your medication makes me high.
Your leaves of green, your purples and blues has cured little kids and old women too. And I say to myself, what a wonderful herb. And I say to myself, what a wonderful herb. Look how Babylon stood up me. Them fight you for years, for your love only per man serve years. Babylon stood up me. Them fight you for years. I know the whole of them are buy shares. You should be a celebrity amongst any tree across the 7 seas for your energy. But you're an enemy, catching felonies for the remedies in your recipes.
Medication. Your medication makes me high. Just be patient. I'm like a patient trying to find levitation. Run your fingers down my spine. Elevation. Your medication makes me high.
Masty, how you feel splendid indeed. With a little bit of black splendid in the weed. Appearance grow indoors, not a stick nor seed. And she never post ripe, it was a real slow speed. No fertilizer, natural baby feed. No cross pollination, she's a real pure breed. Cultivated with love and she's not grown for greed. She's everything I want and also all I need.
Medication. Your medication makes me high. Just be patient. I'm like a patient trying to find levitation. Run your fingers down my spine. Elevation. Your medication makes me high.
And we are back. This is the 420 radio show. Hi, how are you? Or how high are you? I'm pretty high at this point in the show, usually.
Toasted.
No, I'm just, I mean, you smoke enough Gorilla Glue and you get a nice buzz going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
You were talking like our prime minister there for a minute. That started to explain a lot.
Would you rather I talk like William Shatner? And I'm
No.
going to talk like this from now on.
Are you okay, Al?
Yeah. So,
all right, let's change the subject, 'cause
Joe Biden
Al's
has a problem
bugging me.
with pot.
Oh,
And
what's his problem? He can't get enough?
I don't know, but he's put his right toe into the presidential nominations, and he has a problem with pot.
And what's his problem?
I don't know. I
Maybe
wish
he's
he'd
been
come
paying
on the
too
show
much.
and ask. Maybe he's been paying too much per gram. Yeah.
Yeah, that could be a problem.
Yeah, he's always, every time I see a picture of him where he's talking about cannabis, he always has a funny face.
Yeah, it's the indicas.
The indicas.
They're numbing his face too much. Face off OG.
Yeah, or face melt.
Yeah.
So Neil wanted to talk a little bit about the 420 festival and 420 Vancouver, I guess it's called, as well as what's coming up. You guys have your own version of the GMM. I guess we do as well.
Yeah, Global Marijuana March coming up next Saturday, a week from tomorrow. So that's exciting, although it's a little bit of burnout from 420 here in Vancouver, I think, for the people that are wanting to organize these things, and it comes up pretty quick.
Do you think it's going to be as a big a deal this year?
Well, it's never been a very big deal in Vancouver. We've never been able to attract more than a few hundred people to the march.
Really? Because as I'm sure you know, in Toronto, there's a huge group of people that walk up and down Yonge Street and around the corner and Long Bloor and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, the Global Marijuana March in Toronto kind of evolved like 420 did here. And here, despite our a lot of efforts, we haven't really been able to gather much of a crowd. We have a pretty funky, what's the word, grassroots kind of thing going on with the march. It's a different crowd. I don't know why. We do advertise it at the 420 event. We had it up on the big screen. I talked about it on stage. A couple other speakers did as well. But I'll be very surprised if there's more than a few hundred people that show up at the art gallery a week from Saturday. I'd like everybody to show up. It'd be awesome to have a huge march through the city. But
to me, I think it's you're going to see less now with legalization because most people figure, well, it's legal. Why do we bother?
Right, and it's our job, as people that go there, to take the opportunity to educate people that it's a worldwide issue that we have going on here, and even if Canada is legalized, as it should properly, there's still lots of issues around the world with our brothers and sisters, suffering great oppression with respect to laws against cannabis production, selling, and possession. People are still being executed in countries for.
Don't go to Indonesia or Philippines or places like that looking for pot.
Yeah.
Stay away from pretty much most of Asia.
Yeah.
Yeah, so until these things are changed around the world, we're not going to stop doing those things which we do to try to protest that. So it is important to support the Global Marijuana March. It's over 200 countries that this takes place in, and it's a big deal in some of them. And here in Vancouver, we just had 420, and that's kind of become our big deal here. And man, was it ever, I'll tell you. So still needing to pinch myself a little bit as for what we just pulled off here. Unsanctioned, unpermitted. Everybody against us in the media here in Vancouver are telling us there's no reason to protest and we shouldn't be doing this without a permit. The Parks Board that says, you can't have an event related to cannabis in any of our parks in any of the city forever. They passed that motion last year, and they're all upset. That I think it's crazy, and once again, the hypocrisy is just insane. They're so upset that we used to do 420 at the beach because people can't use the park. Well, they can't use the park because there's 120,000 people using the park that day. Well, do they want people to use the park or not? And it's only their job to facilitate what the public wants to do in these parks and make sure that they're done safely and that the park remains intact as best as possible. And when you get a huge event like ours, the Parks Board needs to understand that that's what the city is doing. These are citizens of the city that are making a statement, and we're going to use the park to do it in because that's the best place to do it in all of the city. And there's going to be a little bit of damage to the grass, but that's what we have a Parks Board for, is to do what it takes to fix the grass. And that ain't all that hard, because I don't know if any of you guys have noticed, but it's really hard to keep grass from growing.
Well, I remember that you mentioned that they had a soccer field at one point, and the grass would get ripped up. You were talking about that on Pace. The grass would get ripped up. Now, I've seen the grass after a soccer game or even a football game. Okay, and it gets ripped
the residents
up, but
before we moved in there, that's what they tell us, is that that field was regularly torn right up.
Those people, the people that take care of that facility, they're used to it. You go, Sunnybrook Park here in Toronto has soccer fields, lacrosse fields, this field, that field, and the grass is ripped up after an afternoon game. But by the time the next people come in there, you wouldn't even know it. Of course, unless it's raining and stuff like that. But you wouldn't even know it normally because they take care of the facilities. And I saw pictures. I saw pictures that you guys posted of before and after, and the only thing that I saw was where the boards were down. Where the boards weren't, there was a lot more wear.
Well, you could see you could definitely see where the booths were.
Right.
Yeah, but there was a path in between all those spots where the booths were. But that grass grows back, whether they want it, whether they try to grow it back or not, it's going to grow back. It's going to go back in 2016 when we took it over. There was a lot of different lumps.
It's only going to take a week.
Yeah, I know, and they put a big fence up around it, which just makes them look silly. People in Vancouver aren't stupid. They know it's a political statement, and it's not even really a political statement so much against the 420 people as it is against the city hall, because we got this political fight that happens between the nonpartisan association and Vision, and so that every tweet that the Parks Board put out about how upset they were about 420. They would throw in there, and it's the mayor's job to fix this, and he's not doing anything. And it's all just political. And now they're putting up this big fence because the mayor let this happen, and they don't need to do that at all.
And how much is that going to cost?
I don't know, but it's an unnecessary expense. It's really, almost a criminal misuse of public funds and time that they're using on this whole thing. All the different meetings that they've had to have and stuff. I'm sure those people are all getting paid to meet and have an emergency meeting because they need to tell the organizers to call off the event, which isn't going to happen, and everybody knows that's not going to happen. But they're just flapping their wings so that they can say that they did. So they can say, we did our best to try to stop the event. And they knew damn well they couldn't stop the event. They're using taxpayers' money to make it look like they did for political reasons.
Toronto was smart. They said very nicely to Chris and Aaron, no more using Dundas Square. And then they tried to move it to City Hall, and they said, that's not going to happen again. But if you find another place to go where there's room for a stage and you can have your vendors and stuff like that. Mike was on Pace talking about it, and they said, go ahead to Woodbine, which is great. And I think that it's apples and oranges here between the two because it's totally different. Where Vancouver has dispensaries and places to go in. You can walk in a storefront and get your cannabis. Okay, we don't have that here in Ontario anymore. They're making it very, very hard for anyone to stay open unless you're a legal store. But yet in Toronto, they say, take your vendors and your stage and go to Woodbine and enjoy yourself with our blessing just to keep them out of the downtown core. I think that means something.
It's a step.
It is a step, and I'm interested to see what's going to happen this year with the festivals like Karma Cup and even Lift. I mean, because this is our first legal year of events, right? And although Lift is very LP, it's still interesting to go and see what's going on. Cannabis is this weekend coming up. and it's going to be interesting to see what's available out there from the industry side of things, you know. But I enjoy those festivals. You said there was a couple hundred vendors and then a couple hundred more on the beach?
No, there was actually 500 vendors that were that had donated money to the 420 organizers to reserve spots for them. And then there's another 300 maybe, I don't know, more out on the beach there, set up in all the little nooks and crannies.
1,000 vendors doing their own thing, minding their own business, and there were no issues other than people balking at, oh my God, the grass.
Vancouver Police in the newspapers here today have released a statement saying that there was no incidents, no large incidents at all at 420, which was great to have them say that. They had released a statement before this saying that there were 3 people that were being investigated for impaired driving during the day at Sunset Beach, which I think is probably a record low for any day at Sunset Beach. You know,
definitely.
So, you know, when you got over 100,000 people that congregate there, and there's 3 people being investigated for impaired driving, it says something about something.
Well, I remember. So that was awesome. I remember at the last Toronto Freedom Festival that I went to, one of the reasons that they used the next year to say no was because some doofus got up in a tree and broke a branch.
Right. We didn't even hear about any of that.
Well, so, you know, it's always the little things. What I didn't like, what I don't like, and I was happy to see that all the cleaning was done at most of the events. I mean, I saw pictures from several, and they all looked like they were in the same state that they started. Probably better in some cases. You know, it's going to be an interesting summer to see what they allow with their enforcement going into lounges now and going into markets and doing raids. It's going to be interesting to see, because a lot of the events coming up in the summer are markets, you know.
We've got a new task force here in BC.
We have one
visiting the dispensaries here in the last couple of weeks leading up to 420. They were visiting dispensaries. They didn't raid any or confiscate any. They've been having conversations. They're playing dumb, like they don't know anything. They don't know anything about the history of dispensaries. They say they don't know. You know, they're surprised at the reactions that they're getting from some of the dispensary owners who are standing up for their patients and for their right to help people and that sort of thing. We're going to see what they do, whether they start an enforcement campaign and start raiding these places. The city of Vancouver themselves went on quite a campaign to shut down, especially cannabis culture. The lounge is still here, as always. The main flagship of activism in Vancouver has been cannabis culture. The lounge on Hastings Street, it's still here in defiance of the laws against having a vapor lounge or a smoking lounge. But there are other dispensaries that all closed down. Numerous other dispensaries also closed down because of threats to their landlord, daily fines, other things like that. Some of them closed down trying to comply with the new regulations and become licensed government stores down the road somewhere. There's a number of others that have been left alone. There's probably a dozen or so that are medical dispensaries, and they are even selling high-dose medicals, twisted extracts, and other places like that. And they are not being bothered by the city. They're not even getting visits. They are getting visits from the task force, but there's been no threats in the city so far. So it looks like maybe City Hall here has heard the pleas that we've been laying on them over the course of time here about the need for medical dispensaries, and now that they're so much different than what the government non-medical stores are and that. But they sure did have a hard-on for going after cannabis culture and shutting those ones down, and some of these other ones as well. So we're just kind of in a wait-and-see mode here, you know, try to do what's right and stay open and be medical and hope that means something. Sure should. And, you know, hopefully a model for the rest of Canada as well, where people can, you know, open dispensaries outside of the government non-medical system. But it's up to each municipality how they handle that, whether they stick to police.
Yeah, it's silly, you know, like they've legalized it federally, but yet it's different in every province. I don't get that, and I don't get the way the states have done that too. Like what the fuck? It's either legal or it's not.
Yeah, and it's not just province as well. It is right down to the municipal level.
Yes.
That, we were hoping that the courts were going to rule that the municipalities could even override the Cannabis Act and allow for these dispensaries to be licensed. But the courts have not really said that. But still, there are some municipalities that are doing that anyway. They're just allowing for these places. There's a couple here in Vancouver that have licenses from the city to stay open for the following year without complying. And hopefully, maybe I shouldn't even say that on here. Maybe it's a hush-hush thing that, they're hoping they can get away with. I don't know. But, like I said, each little municipality, I think 3,500 municipalities in Canada, they're all their own little basket of what they will and won't allow. So, but it's always been like that, too. I found that on my tours across Canada on the Freedom Tour, that, you in Nelson, BC, I went in there and found out that there's no inline skating allowed on the roads in the main part of town. There's no skateboarding, no inline skating. You can't walk your dog downtown Nelson. And different municipality you go into, you don't even know what the rules are, and they can have little traps set up to, get some more money for their municipality because they've got a little quirky bylaw about this or like that. It's not right. I agree with what you said. It's either illegal or it's not. It's either right or it's not. And governments, when I say we need a reset of our democracy, it's mostly because of that. It's because these people have lost perspective on what it means to be a public servant. They think they get into power, and even on the municipal level, they think they can make whatever laws they want, and as long as they're in power, then that's just the way it is. And if you don't like it, vote them out and get somebody else in there.
Well,
and it shouldn't be like that at all.
We're seeing that firsthand with what Doug Ford's doing.
Right.
Right. I mean, he is saying we're open for business here in Ontario, but by the same token, he's controlling what's happening, even more so in some cases than the feds, right?
Here in one municipality in Burnaby next door, they had a woman running for council for mayor who said she was going to outlaw all forms of public affection. So you couldn't hold hands in public, no kissing, no hugging. And,
really?
She had good reason for it. It really makes some people jealous and feel inadequate because they don't have a relationship and these such things. But there was no talk in the media about how this woman, it was really out of her league. You can't do that. There's limits on what government can do. They never talked about that at all. All the talk was, well, if she gets to be mayor, then look what she's going to do. So we really need to understand in Canada, public servants are in a very fragile and vulnerable place, and they hold the public's trust. They're not in power, and they don't get to make rules and laws and enforce them if they violate our natural rights as free human beings. And in so many cases across Canada, our rights are being violated by these people who just think that they're in power over us and they can bring their own moral, ethical, religious, whatever views into the public realm and dictate to people how they're going to behave. And that's not right. They have a limited role in how they're able to interfere with our lives. At least they should, anyway.
And you know what? On that note, because we're getting close to the end of the show, I want to make sure that you plug whatever you've got going on there, especially your substitution project.
Yeah, that's the big one to plug for me, the Cannabis Substitution Project. You can find us on Facebook. We're a group there. We post all sorts of different studies that come in and other people's stories about the effectiveness of cannabis in their lives. You can also contact me if you want to donate to our project. You can contact me through Facebook, Neil Magnuson. Otherwise, I don't have much.
Yeah,
to
you're
plug.
not too.
I want everybody to go do their part.
Yeah, and I just like to thank you personally, Neil, for inspiring us to do hope, because I've been following you for a long time, and watching what you've been doing with that project, and my heart is totally going out to you guys, and thank you to all of you for doing that.
Yeah, and we want to be a model for other people to follow and turn this thing around. Eventually, the government should help us and support what we're doing, even in the way that we insist on doing it, with allowing other people to help like we are. And I would like to encourage everybody that we're not done. In fact, as activists, we've brought this a long way to this point. People say we've won and it's over, and it's not. We need everybody still to push till we get proper regulations and stop this prohibition and stop the stigmatization. And if we all just sort of band together and do our little part and push a little bit harder for a little bit longer, we will see that day not too far down the road where we can all get together, have a group hug, and tears flow, and we'll know that we've really got the freedom that we're looking for, not just for this plant, but in general, how we are dealt with by public servants and what it means to be in a free country. We're at the forefront of that battle with this issue of ours. And I can see that down the road that we're going to get there if we all just keep pushing a little bit. The proper legalization of cannabis is the catalyst and the linchpin that will get us that future of limited, accountable, transparent public servants who do respect individual sovereignty. I can see that. So thank you all for helping us get there down the road. Thank you for what you're doing with your program. I'd like to give a shout out to my fellow organizers at 420. I didn't want to diminish Dana Larson's role at all. He's one of the hugest forces behind how this works. Jeremiah Vandermeer being the number one guy that takes it all upon himself, but Dana does an excellent job in so many areas as well. I want to shout out to those people because I can't thank them enough for bringing off what we pulled off here. The 25th anniversary of 420 was an event like that we've never seen before, and hopefully we'll see again next year.
I'm kind of jealous I didn't get to go. Have you guys got anything you want to add? Any shout-outs, anything going on? I know that you got any court support or anything going on, Deb?
Not until the middle of May, I do believe, when Higher Living Wellness Center of Greenwood have their pre-trial, I think on May 15th. I don't have my calendar in front of me. But I would like to give a shout out to Matt Forstner from Truro, who was a part of the Maritime Medical Dispensary there, who was in court today for the judge's decision, and Judge McKinnon felt that his charter rights had been infringed, so all evidence was excluded from the record, and the charges have been dismissed.
Yeah, I heard that. That's so awesome.
That's a huge win here on the East Coast, really. I'm hopeful that some of the other dispensaries still have 3 dispensaries with charges here in the Annapolis Valley, and I'm hoping that they all follow suit.
They seem to do that, eh? You get right to the end, and then they just say, "Okay, we give up." There you go. This
is a judge's decision.
Okay.
This wasn't the prosecution pulling out, which is what normally happens when they're about to lose.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Well,
this was the judge's decision.
Oh well, that's good.
And we had that happen here in Antigonish in late February, early March, I believe, where Tasty Buds had mounted a constitutional challenge, and after a morning of hearing 4 patients testify as to what a medical cannabis dispensary meant in their life and the effectiveness of cannabis as medicine, everybody came back after lunch, and the word was that the charges were going to be dismissed against the woman who was running the dispensary, but the owners of the dispensary would be taking a corporate fine of $50,000, I believe.
Yep.
So that's the word that the prosecutor here in one of the courthouses in the valley has been spreading around amongst the people who are in trial, that this is the trend, that people are taking a corporate plea just because it's happened once. Suddenly it's trend, right? Shouldn't it at least happen 2 or 3 times before you get to call it a trend?
Yeah, it's not so much a trend, but a precedent has been set that's to their advantage.
Well, he did use the word trend in speaking with one of the people who've been charged. suggesting that, that's the way things should go. So it's interesting now that this is in the mix of, could be considered a trend too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jerry Martin's got his case coming up, so maybe, there'll be that trend set there too, that they decide his constitutional rights are infringed. I'm sure they would. But
so
look for that one. If I want to shout out to something, that Jerry Martin's constitutional challenge. I think there's a pre-trial coming up in a few days, like a week or so, and we'll cross our fingers on that.
Cool. I don't know. We're just waiting at Gunjanistas to find out what the courts are going to do as far as. My sister's coming in, so I mean, we're
not a nice thing to say about your sister.
That was the dog barking at my sister. Like I said, we're waiting to hear whether or not we can get back in at this stage. So
right.
Yep. I just want to remind anybody, if you're in need of hope and you're in the Hamilton area, we are out front of Gunjanistas on the corner, doing it old school. Come and say hi. We'll have hope packs for anybody who needs.
Great name, by the way. I really love the idea of hope.
I came up with that in the bathroom.
I'm glad you did. I love it.
I wanted to try and find something that meant something that would also represent what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
No,
I think it's brilliant.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Are you and Darcy going and holding hands on a stage anywhere sometime soon there, Marcel?
We don't hold hands.
We don't hold hands. Okay. And no, nothing's scheduled for us. We're going to go to hang out at the Atlantic Cannabis Conference at the end of May.
In May. And then June 5th, we got we're going to teach, we're going to speak at a garden club for seniors out in a town about a half hour outside of Truro.
Yeah, awesome. We're going out to the woods.
You're going out to Greytown.
Yeah, we're going to go teach some seniors how to grow cannabis because they love plants and they've been asking lots of questions. So
yeah,
so we'll teach them how to grow their 4 plants.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, it's like I told my grandmother. I said, "Hey, if you grow 4 plants this summer," I said, "that's 4 people's Christmas present."
Oh, at least 4.
And she thought of it, and she was thinking, and I could see the wheels turning. So I think I may have given her an awesome idea for Christmas presents from here on out.
And of course, being a grandson, you're on the Christmas list, right?
Well, this is it. I'd say, well, just think. There's my birthday and Christmas present, all bought and all wrapped up into one.
There you go.
Yeah.
Eyes of thinking.
So on that note, send a birthday presents to Darcy Pittman at 420 box 420. Anyways, we're done, and we'll see you next week. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Neil, for joining us and everything you do, and same to you guys. And we'll be here next week. What's next week? Next week, I think we are going to be live from the Indigenous Cup with Al and Mary Jane and everybody. I think we're trying to schedule that so that when they're there on Friday, we'll do the show and they'll be there and blah, 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 blah. And Naughty by Nature's playing out there. So, cool. All right. We are done. This is the 420 Radio Show. We are here Fridays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at 420radio.ca. Peace out.
Peace out.
Yay. Peace, love, and hippie shit and all that other fun stuff.
There you go. Thanks again, Neil.
Bye.
Good night.
You're welcome.
Night, Deb.
Thank you, Deb.
Night.
Good night now.
Y'all
Legacy
have
420 has
evening.
medicinal and recreational products down to a science, literally. With 2 biochemists on staff and a chief scientific advisor, every product is tested in the Legacy 420 laboratory. Legacy 420, Tyendinaga. Open 9 to 9 every day. Visit legacy420.com.
So what are you doing? Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.